What if you could totally transform your trading results? I'm not talking about learning some new, super complicated strategy. Nope. I'm talking about one simple tweak to what you're probably already doing. Let's dive in and see how a single adjustment can completely change the game. Okay, look at this. This picture, it says it all. We are going to take your trading approach from feeling like you're just kind of throwing paint at a canvas, hoping something sticks, and turn you into a sniper, taking that one calculated perfect shot. It is all about refining your entries.
All right, let's get real for a second and talk about a problem I know so many traders run into. You've got a good strategy, right? It's solid. It makes sense. But your results, they're just meh. And that is so frustrating when you know your analysis is actually on point.
Okay, so check this out. This is a classic supply and demand trade. And yeah, it's profitable. You're risking $100 to maybe make 214. But look at that risk to reward ratio, 2.14. And you know what? They're kind of right. It works, sure, but is it the best it could be? No way.
And here's the thing. This has real consequences. A weak risk-to-reward ratio forces you into these clumsy entries with a really wide stop loss. That just means you're putting more money on the line for every single trade. You're literally leaving cash on the table, even on your winning trades. As you can see, the scales are just tipped against you right from the start.
But what if there was a way to fix all that? What if you could stick with the exact same strategy you already know and trust, but just by making one tiny little adjustment, you could get a totally different, way better result? This isn't about chasing some new holy grail system. It's about making what you already do well, even better.
And that, my friends, brings us to the solution. It's a really powerful but elegant technique, and it's called zone refinement. So what exactly is zone refinement? Okay, think of it like this. It's like using a magnifying glass on your chart. You've already found a good area to trade, right? All we're doing is zooming in on that area using a smaller time frame to find a much more precise spot to get in. And this is so important. We are not changing where we trade. We're just getting way more precise about how we enter that trade. Now, before we can refine anything, we've got to have a solid foundation. So we'll start on a higher time frame, let's say the 4-hour chart. First, you're looking for a big, strong impulse move. That's just a really sharp move in one direction. Then, you find the candle that started that whole move and you just mark that entire area. That becomes your big foundational demand zone. All right, you ready for the magic trick? It's seriously this simple. You just drop down one time frame. So if you found your big zone on the 4-hour, you pop down to the 1-hour chart. And look, almost every single time you're going to find a much smaller, way more precise, little demand zone tucked right inside that bigger one. That little zone, that's our new high-precision entry point. And this is where you really see the power of it. On the left, you've got the standard entry, just using that big, wide 4-hour zone. And on the right, you have the refined entry, using that tiny, tight 1-hour zone. It is the exact same strategy, the exact same trade idea, but the difference in the potential outcome, it's just staggering. So, with that standard entry, you're looking at a pretty respectable 5.15 risk to reward. Hey, that's a good trade. But with one simple refinement, that number more than doubles to an incredible 11.12. You're risking less money to potentially make so much more. The math it's on a whole other level. Okay, theory is great and all, but let's see how this thing actually plays out in the wild. Let's pull up a chart and walk through this step by step. All right, here's our setup on the 4-hour chart. So price has been in a strong downtrend, but now we're starting to see signs of a reversal. See that break of structure right there? Price is pushed past a previous high. That's our classic signal to start looking for a buy opportunity, so we go ahead and mark our potential demand zone. Now, if we were just to take a standard trade based on this big 4-hour zone, we'd get a risk to reward of 5.23. And look, that is not a bad trade. I would take that trade all. My grandma used to say, why settle for a low risk reward when you can get a better one? So we do our little trick. We just switch down to the 1-hour chart. See how our original 4-hour zone is still kind of shaded in the background? But look closely. The actual little demand zone on the 1-hour chart, the candle that really kicked off this new trend, is so much smaller and more precise. That is our new target. And would you look at that? Here's the beautiful result. Price comes down perfectly, just kisses the top of our tiny refined zone, and then, boom, skyrockets right to our profit target. A perfect sniper entry. Honestly, it just doesn't get any cleaner than that.
Okay, hold on. Before you get too excited and start trying to refine everything down to the 1-minute chart, there is one major, super crucial rule you have to follow. We need to talk about the danger of something called over-refinement.
It's really tempting to think, well, if going from a 4-hour to a 1-hour is good, then refining all the way down to a 5-minute zone must be incredible, right? Wrong. Just look at this example. By getting too precise, too greedy, the price never actually makes it down to your entry zone. So you're left with this amazing risk to reward on paper, but you miss the trade completely.
So, to make sure this never ever happens to you, here is the golden rule. It's so simple. You can only go down a maximum of 2 steps from the time frame you started on. So, if you start on the daily chart, you can refine down to the 4-hour or the 1-hour. If you start on the 4-hour, you can go down to the 1-hour or the 30-minute. That's it. This keeps you precise without being too precise. Adding this one simple tweak to your trading can be an absolute game changer. It'll help you risk less, profit more, and get those really clean, satisfying sniper entries. So the only question left is, are you ready to stop painting and start sniping?